It's Beer O'Clock, and it's the Beer O'Clock show where every week we take a selected beer, drink it, and talk about it. Joining me, with his boots tightly laced and his footy kit freshly laundered, is everyone's favourite World Cup mascot, Steve. Hello, Steve.
Hello. I can't believe you did that. I said I put out a tweet last week saying this was a World Cup free zone, and then you introduced this show that coincides with the first day of the World Cup with a World Cup flavoured intro.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
disgusting.
Topical, Stephen. It's called Topical.
Yeah, disclaimer, I had nothing to do with that.
I thought of that just as I sat down in my chair tonight.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Lots of prep as always, mate.
Oh, yeah. That's about all I do. Right. Proper show tonight. We've got we've got the beer that won our England's favourite IPA poll on the website. We'll get to that in a little bit. Steve.
Yes.
Have you had any interesting beers lately, mate? We haven't had a chat about interesting beers.
Interesting you should say that, Mark. Very interesting. This past Friday evening, I took part in one of the Camera GB Twitter events, which was called #Supermarket Sweep.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah, the theme of this one was beers from the big four supermarkets, but they had to be kind of own brand beers.
Right.
Let's just say it's not something I would recommend to people.
I was rather entertained by your comments on them all. It's like this constant wave of disappointment upon disappointment.
Yeah, if anybody wants to see the beers that I checked in, you can have a look at my Untapped check-ins. But it was just because I tried to avoid going for the obvious, which would have been going for basically the Tesco's version of Brewdog's hardcore IPA, or going for Sainsbury's version of Schiehallion. Yeah. So I kind of gave myself a stipulation of not going for the obvious. Mm-hmm. So I ended up with I had a can of Beer de Belgique from Asda, which was basically an Asda version of Stella, I think. Right. I had Tesco's Simply IPA, which was so bad I couldn't even finish half a bottle of it. Then I had Morrison's American Red Ale, which was okay, but it just wasn't thick enough. Yeah. And then I finished the evening with a Sainsbury's own brand version of Star Pramen, which just
is that the one called Czech?
Yeah, it's just called Czech.
Yeah.
So no, don't buy those beers. Don't buy if you find yourself in a supermarket and have an urge to buy supermarket beers, then go for the obvious. Go for the Tesco Finest Double American IPA, which is your Brewdog Hardcore IPA, or go for, I think it's in Sainsbury's Craft Lager. It's called Sainsbury's Taste the Difference Craft Lager, Craft Scottish Lager, and that's basically Schiehallion. What about you, mate? Have you drunk anything new in the past couple of weeks?
No.
Okay.
Moving on. I was kind of light on last week. I'm going to have them Untapped up because I've probably forgotten something interesting. I had a Beck's on the weekend. That was nice. Wife got me to go to a barbecue. All they had was Beck's. I shouldn't have expected much more than that. But
not unless you're going to take your own.
And I'm actually on Untapped. My distinct beer count is at 299.
Woo.
So tonight is going to knock that into 300.
Nice.
I had that. You gave me a bottle of this ages ago, and it was actually out of date when I drank it. But it was still nice. The 1906 Red Vintage by Rios de Rivera.
Yeah, mate, I bought that back from Menorca a year ago.
I know. It was still alright though. It's been sitting on my shelf, and then I put it in the fridge saying, I must drink that, and that was like 5 months ago. It just kept sitting there.
It's obviously aged well.
Yeah. And where did I get these ones? The Cone? The Cone IPA, which was bottled as Craft Rebellion 003 Mystery Beer.
Oh yeah.
Which that was quite nice. And I finally got around to having. Remember, you gave me those Bateman's beers, the mockers.
Oh yeah,
I had the mocha one a while ago, and I had the mocha amaretto on the weekend, which was really tasty.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
enjoyable.
Yeah, I'd have it again. So yeah, there you go. That's my lot.
There you are. There you have it.
I'll be at a festival this weekend drinking cider because the beer selection will be shit.
And where are you going this weekend?
Going to download. Unlike you, who piked out like a little whinger because there's no bands you like. Why spend 200 quid on a weekend to see bands you don't like?
Exactly. You got in before me.
Yeah. So last year they had what's that? What bit ale did they have last year?
They had Otter.
Well, they had Otter again.
Hobgoblin, not Hobgoblin.
And they also had Iron Maiden Trooper in plastic bottles for £5 a bottle.
Yes.
Which was no £5.50 actually, I think it was. Which was diabolical. Yeah. It was warm in plastic.
Yeah. Well, that's doing the rounds to Sonosphere this year, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I had a go at them on Twitter about that, and they said no, they're actually done enough casks to take to Sonosphere.
Oh yeah. So
they'll be peddling it from the cask
for £6 a pint.
No doubt.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll be on the cider all weekend, which is they have a decent cider there. It's not so bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Better than Tuborg. Right. News time, mate.
News.
Are you ready for your pips?
Do it.
There
we are. Okay, mentioned this last week, but going to mention it again because this will be the last show before we're actually there. We, Mark and I got invited to go to the trade session of the Summer Brew Fest. Mark unfortunately can't make it, so I'm going along on my own to represent, and just thought I'd give them a shout again. Did mention this last week, but Summer Brew Fest taking place at the Space Studios at London Fields from the 20th to the 22nd of June, featuring the following breweries: Beer Hug, Brick Brewery, Crate, 5 Points, Hackney Brewery, Hop Stuff, Late Nights, Thistley Cross, By the Horns, Hammerton, London Glider, Rocky Head, and also recently announced as well London Fields, which you would have expected seeing as it's being held in London Fields venue. So there are still tickets available. Tickets are split into two sessions. There are Beer Geek sessions and Beer Lover sessions, and the beers that are going to be available at each session are going to reflect those titles. More information and tickets from summerbrewfest.co.uk. So that's the first item of news. The second item of news, I want to just give this one a shout. It's a new venture that's being put together by two friends of the show. So Justin Mason at 1970s Boy and Ed Razzle at Ed Razzle. The pair of them are putting together a Beer East Anglia guide. So at the moment, the pair of them are doing their best to go all over East Anglia and find the best pubs, and then they're going to put together, I think it's going to be, I was chatting to Justin and he was saying it's going to be like a website, like an app type thing where you can find where the best places are. For the time being though, you can follow them on Twitter at Beer East Anglia. So give them a follow if you're in that area, and keep an eye out soon for when the guide is released.
Very good, very good.
And then in a trio to finish this week, a trio of Brewdog news, because I know how much you love news from the Scottish craft brewing marketing company. So first up, Mashtag 2014 is now released and it's out there. Not had any yet, but hoping to pick some bottles up this week.
Now, what style was that again in the end?
It is an American Imperial Red Ale.
Okay.
I think, with flavours of orange and all sorts of stuff. So that's out now. Reason why I wanted to mention it though is because on the 2nd of July, Wednesday the 2nd of July, they're doing a The co-founders of Brewdog, James Watt and Martin Dickey, are holding a live-streamed beer tasting on YouTube, and they want everybody to join in and send tasting notes. So the idea is it's just basically what lots of us have been doing for a long time now. On Wednesday, the 2nd of July, everyone's going to drink Mashtag online and chat about it. So more news about that one over coming weeks. Second bit of Brewdog news. They are changing their branding. They're changing the look of all their bottles and things. Now, this was first called by Chris Hall, who was on the show a while back, in a blog that he wrote that was talking about how the new bottle shop looks and what Shepherd's Bush looks like, and how they're kind of beginning to dumb down their marketing a little bit. Well, they've now officially said that they're changing their labelling and everything. So over the next few months, you'll see a slight change to the way Brewdog bottles look. And then finally, probably the news that's got everybody pissing their pants this week, Brewdog, Stone Brewing and Magic Rock are collaborating on a beer. Let's just pause there and just think about that for a second. Okay. Let's move on. Basically, they've announced today that it is going to be a session farmhouse IPA, 4.5% hopped up ale, fermented with saison yeast and a few rustic spices. So that's what you can expect. I don't know whether it's going to be called Magic Stone Dog, but that's what the title of the piece is, Magic Stone Dog. Feels a bit like paper, stone, scissors, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Magic Stone Dog. Anyway, so that ends this week's news.
Right, Stephen.
Mark.
Should we get into this week's beer?
Let's do the beer.
Okay, well, this week's selected beer is, as I said at the top of the show, the beer that was voted as England's favourite IPA on our very own Beer O'Clock Show poll. It is from Marble Brewery, or Marble Beers, Marble Brewery in Manchester. Dobber India Pale Ale. Now we've got a hefty size bottle.
Oh,
it's a full one.
It is.
So...
I've just cracked mine, and the aromas that I'm getting off of it are just like tropical juice.
Well, it is quite fresh, isn't it?
That's a lovely aroma. Let's have a look and see what it looks like and smells like in the glass.
Yeah, let's give it a pour. And you got an interview with these chaps at the end.
There is at the end of the show. Did a interview with the guys a few weeks back. Have to forgive the audio quality of the interview because it was the first time we tried doing an interview via Skype. So obviously it picks up my voice very, very well, but it does sound like the two guys that I'm chatting to are sat in a cupboard with a closed door, shouting at us. But it's some good stuff what the guys have got to say there. Some history about Marble Brewery and also a little bit more about this beer as well. So for the lowdown on the beer, check out the interview at the end.
There's decent carbonation in this.
Yeah,
coming up the centre.
Lovely.
Semi-clear. Slight haze to it. Nice yellow look. Decent head. Lovely fresh aroma off the head.
Yeah, I'm still getting those lovely big tropical aromas coming off of that. Oh, I'm looking forward to this.
All right, well, let's not delay any further, young man.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate. Well, that's nice.
It's very nice. So it's got a very bitter kick at the end of it.
It has, yeah.
It's got quite a malty base to it that you get sort of come through straight away, and you get a few fruity flavours licking around that maltiness, and then it kind of goes straight through to a proper dry bitter finish.
Yeah, you got the fresh, sweet, biscuity malt as you're drinking it, and then it just collapses into this hop bomb in your mouth. Because I was thinking as I was drinking it, this isn't as hoppy as I would expect from an IPA, but now that lingering bitterness
Yeah, it's Sorry, I decided to take a gulp mid sentence there. Don't quite know why I decided to do that. It's certainly it's got there's some good hops there. Wouldn't necessarily say it's a hop bomb, but then again, you know, we have different palates. And
well, I don't mean a hop bomb like Cannonball or something like that, but
it's very rich. The hops are very rich in there, and they've almost got a little bit of that. Remember when we were doing the beers from the States? Had that sort of almost that oily resinous to them. It's very reminiscent of that.
Yeah, do you know what hops are in here?
I do. It's not on the bottle, but the guys did mention it in the interview, which I made a note of when they mentioned it, in anticipation of your question, Mark. Green Bullet, Nelson, and Chinook are the hops that are in it.
Okay.
So it says pronounced New Zealand hop character. So I'm guessing. I think Nelson's definitely one of the New Zealand hops. I've personally never heard of Green Bullet before.
No.
That's a first for me.
We've heard of Nelson and Chinook, of course.
Yeah. It's a decent beer. I can understand why it's got a big fan base.
Green Bullet is a New Zealand hop.
Are they all New Zealand? Is Nelson New Zealand?
Let's have a look. I'm on the Googles.
And Andy Parker's the king of Nelson, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's just brewed with it again with Weird Beard.
Nelson Sauvin, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's New Zealand. What about Chinook? I think that's American.
I was going to say, yeah, Chinook sounds American. So 5.9%, so it's not a massive percentage on it. And these are fairly fresh bottles as well. So probably just again point out that Marble Brewery were kind enough to send these down to us following the success that they had in the poll. But these were probably bottled about 2 weeks ago. So this is fairly fresh Dobber that we're drinking here.
It tastes fresh as well.
Yeah. So thanks to the guys at Marble for these, and we've got a couple of bottles to give away as well, which we'll be announcing at the end how people can win themselves two bottles of Dobber. Just going to give them away to one person, but keep you hanging on for that one. Just keep you hooked in till the end of the show.
Chinook is an American hop, by the way. Just for closure for those people who are hanging on.
Yeah, who were desperate and who were probably sat there going, "It's American."
What the fuck is wrong with you?
You guys are supposed to know what you're talking about.
You've been doing this bloody podcast for 2 years and you don't know Chinook's American.
I'm really enjoying that.
It's turning into a nice settled beer, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's very, very nice. Very nice beer.
Nice smooth middle with a bitter back end.
Yes. Yeah. It's
My
no
thumbnail
it's
review.
It's I mean, like I say, I think I've probably said about as much of it as I can say right now. I mean, yeah, the aroma's changing slightly as it's running down the glass. It's not quite as fruity as it was when it came out initially. Flavours are changing slightly as it warms, but it's still a steady beer.
I don't know if I'd say it's the best IPA I've ever had.
Well, this is. I think it's probably fair to say that everybody knew what my 3 votes were when we did the poll. It very much would have been Halcyon, Cannonball, and Axe Edge. I had never heard. I'm probably in with the majority of people that had probably never heard of Dobber before. And obviously it sort of came from nowhere. So it's obviously got a very, very strong following of fans that enjoy the drink.
Indeedy. But it's very pleasing.
It is. It's certainly an enjoyable beer.
Yeah. Damn these big bottles. I'm so used to the tiny bottles that I'm not used to these big ones anymore.
I almost get offended now when I see a big bottle. Like, really? Why do you want to make me drink that much of your beer? It's hard work, especially when we're reviewing it on the show.
Yeah. And especially when you go out and you get your beer platter of thirds.
Yes.
So you're used to that much beer.
Yeah, and here we are drinking. Now, I'm assuming that this label must be for the American market, because it says 1 pint, 500 ml. Now, as we all know, 500 ml isn't a pint.
Yeah.
And then just the other side of the label, just the way it says sort of government warning, product of England. So I'm guessing this is the kind of the international label that's on this one.
Oh yeah, it's got the imported by 12% LLC Brooklyn, New York on it as well. So yeah, it would have been for the American market. And it's got the whole, like the Californian redemption and so like where you can take your bottles in to get your 5 cents or whatever.
Yeah.
That's well spotted, young Stephen.
See. I'm more than just a hophead.
You can read as well.
Yes, just about.
You're going to go far, lad.
Yeah. So just while we're finishing this beer, shall we talk about something that we're doing next week?
Yeah.
Not necessarily on next week's show, but next week we are heading out into the wilds of London again, aren't we? You and I, once more, my friend, on to another one of Vic Norman's Dragon and Flagon tours.
Yes.
We are doing Tale of Three Bridges.
That sounds interesting.
It's one of the tours.
It also sounds like a lot of walking.
Yeah. Don't know whether I really thought this one through when I said, yeah, let's do that. But there, yeah, so we'll be out with Vic again, treading the paths of London town. And we'll feedback on what we think of that particular tour and the 6 or so pubs that we'll be visiting as part of it, and how tired our feet are at the end of the day.
And I bet one of those pubs is going to be a Samuel Smith's one.
I would take your bet.
But considering I actually like their chocolate stout that they do.
Yes.
That's one beer.
Very chocolatey.
That's one beer of theirs that I've actually bought that on bottle as well. And it's gorgeous. It is like a proper chocolate. So if we do go into a Samuel Smith's, I'll be getting that. But knowing Vic, we will be going to a Samuel Smith's because he loves them.
I can only imagine that the route is got to be going, because I know it finishes up Tower Bridgeway.
Okay.
So it's got to be taken in, what's that? That'll be Tower Bridge and London Bridge. And let's just hope it takes in the Millennium Bridge. It's counting that little thing as well, because otherwise I'm thinking I think Blackfriars Bridge is the next bridge, which is quite a bit further down, isn't it?
It's a bit of a hike, yeah.
Yeah, but once we get chatting to people and we've got a few beers inside us, it'll be fine.
Yeah, he does a good tour, does Vic?
He does. If you want to check them out, I can't remember his website name off the top of my head because it's a strange one. But if you follow him on Twitter @Dragon and Flagon, you can obviously click through to his website from his Twitter account.
Hang on, I'm finding it for you.
Okay, good value tours as well.
LondonPubTours.weebly, WEEBLY.com. And his name's Vic Norman. He does a bunch of different tours.
I think he's up to 7 now.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh no, 7. I won't count the pub and dinner tours as a tour.
Yeah. That's a new thing that he started doing. Is branching out and doing sort of dinner and pub tours as well.
Yeah, so he always takes in some interesting pubs.
And the guy's historical knowledge as well is astounding. He certainly puts a lot of research into the tours.
He does. He's a good man, Vic.
Yes.
Yeah, he always remembers my name, and that's always a good thing in my book. And he always remembers how I feel about Samuel Smith. So. It's that attention to detail that I appreciate in the people that are from my custom to.
Yes.
All right, this beer, mate. Let's finish this beer off.
Yeah, I'm almost done with it. Actually, I've been steadily supping away with what I've been drinking there. Again, I'm at the bottom of my glass. Aromas have changed a little bit again. There's an air versus slight fruity hit in there now.
Yeah, I'm not getting the fruit anymore. I'm getting like a very faint pine over biscuit smell.
The bitterness has eased at the end as well. It's a lot more of a smoother finish now.
Mm-hmm. But you're getting that thickness of the malt coming through more, though.
Yeah. It's got really thick towards the bottom there.
I love it how beers change flavour as you're going through. It's a sign of a good beer, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, any closing remarks for this best IPA in England?
No, I'm actually surprised. I am surprised because I thought that I didn't expect it to be like this. I'm going to be honest. I expected it to be kind of a more traditional style English IPA. So really earthy, full of English hops.
Yeah.
Bitter all the way through, that sort of thing. A lot darker in colour. However, it's more of the, I suppose, the new worldy type American style IPA, which is obviously more pronounced on the hops, the fruit flavours, that sort of thing. So I was pleasantly surprised, enjoyed it all the way down, and can certainly understand how it topped the poll, although still won't believe that it topped Cannibal.
Well, if you think of how many of these really high-profile IPAs have fans, whereas if enough people also like this one and vote for it at the same time, you know.
I suppose if there is a doppelganger of me that is as mad about this beer as I am about Cannonball, then I can understand. Yes, I can understand your point there.
But I mean, if you got two blokes, they both like this beer, but they're also mad about Cannonball and another one, this one's going to get 2 votes while the other one's only get 1. You get my point?
Yeah, good shout.
Yeah. You never know.
So,
anyway,
decent beer.
Pretty good beer.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
And find yourself some Dobber, which was apparently in short supply after our poll.
Of course.
Because the brewery, Marble Brewery, did say that they actually saw a spike in sales.
Well,
and obviously you are going to struggle to find it down south as well because they are a Manchester-based brewery.
And our reach is far and wide in influence, Stephen.
Clearly, yes. But also you can hang on just a few more minutes and you can find out how you can win a couple of bottles of Marble Dobber.
Okay. Well, what are we going to do to fill those couple of minutes of time?
Well, no, see, I've got a seamless link. Just give me a minute. Okay, so finally, after plugging away at it for a couple of weeks, we had some action on Instagram this week.
Hey.
And I'm going to have to give shouts out to both of them because it's almost like people went for beers that they knew I would comment on. So, firstly, Adam Nicholson sent me a picture of a bottle of Cannonball. That's, nice job. Nicely done. But he also sent me a picture of a bottle of Cannonball, Rapture and Highwire and a bit of backstory as to how he was there when Magic Rock first launched and how he knew Stuart the brewer and everything. So
you rub it in.
Yeah, why not? So give Adam Nicholson a shout, and then also Sean Smith, who you can find on Instagram and on Twitter as Plim Sean. That's PLYMSEAN. He sent me a picture of a bottle of Halcyon. And it's just like, these people just obviously clearly know what attracts me to beer. But what Sean had done with his picture, and he's obviously got an app that did it. It's a great picture that he's done of like the label exploding and there being a kind of some sort of spirit coming out of the bottle. It's really incredible. What I might do actually, I'm not sure how you repost things on Instagram. Other than maybe doing a screen grab of it and posting it on our Instagram account. But
you can regram things, can't you?
Can you regram them? I don't know.
think so. I don't know.
I might investigate that later.
I'm too old for Instagram.
So they were our 2 Instagrams of the week, and now this is how you can win yourself 2 bottles of Marble Dobber.
Seamless, mate.
Sorry?
Seamless.
It's brilliant, isn't it? Right, so I want you, and I've got to be careful here, and remember it's almost a family show, and you know there are some things that I don't want to see on Instagram, but I want you to show me your Dobber. Okay, so I want you to post the best picture of a Dobber that you can, with the hashtag show me your Dobber this week.
What are you defining as a Dobber?
Now, right, if people listen right until the end of the show and they listen to the interview with Marble, the guys will tell you what a Dobber is.
Ah, okay.
Okay, so show me your Dobber. Best Instagram picture next week gets 2 bottles of Marble Dobber.
I'm assuming it's not a meat and 2 veg.
It's not, although there is one definition on Urban Dictionary that suggests that it is. But let's make it clear at this point: any pictures of the male genitalia will not be included because I am not interested in seeing them, guys.
Don't put your cock and balls on the internet, lads.
Yeah, that's it. and if you do, I tell you now, we will name and shame you.
Yeah.
As well on Twitter. So no cocks and balls, but show me your Dobber.
Oh dear, you're going to be flooded with dick pics.
I hope not. I really hope not.
All right, mate. Anything else you want to cover? We've got the interview coming up at the end of the show.
Yes, we have.
Don't forget. Go on.
Go on. No, go on.
Don't forget, you can go onto our website, onto the Season 4 beer list, and at the very end is a link to some lovely vendors who are offering a discount for any of the beers that we drink on the show, providing they sell them, of course. So you buy them, some other beers, and they have discount code for you to get, how much is it, 5%?
10%.
10%?
So,
Madness.
10%. Owls by Mal, The Beer Boutique, and Honest Brew.
Yeah, so the website, beeroclockshow.co.uk, click on Season 4 beer list at the top, scroll all the way to the bottom, that's where the discount codes will be, and links to the beer shops, as well as, obviously, our list of beers coming up. Right. Anything else, Steve?
No, just to mention about next week's show.
Yep.
Is we are featuring a new brewery next week called Hillside Brewery, and we've actually got their head brewer coming on the show with us, and we are drinking a beer called Jolly Jester, which is a Belgian-style 9% beer that is brewed with a brand new English hop called the Jester.
Oh, right.
So it's a bit of a first for us. So that'll be next week's show. You may have seen Mark and I's check-ins recently from Untapped, checking in a load of Hillside Brewery beers. That's because, again, we're very grateful for Paul from Hillside, who's quite literally sent us the biggest box of beer you've ever seen. Literally the whole of their range has come through to us. And I gave Mark some homework to try and drink a few beers before the show so we could talk about some of their other beers other than the beer that we'll be reviewing on the show. I'm
halfway through my homework. I've got the other half to do.
Yeah, me too. I managed to get halfway through this weekend. So yeah, that's next week's show.
Cool. All right, guys, you can find us on Twitter at Beer O'Clock Show. You can find us on Instagram for your dick pic competition at Beer O'Clock Show. And the website.
Saying it.
Show us your Dobber. And the website is beeroclockshow.co.uk. You can find us on iTunes and on Stitcher. Give us a thumbs up or a rating. It really does help, and we do appreciate your support. Send us a tweet on Twitter when you're drinking a beer and say, hey guys, check out this beer if it's not something we've drunk before, if you think it's something that might be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, the same with Instagram. Don't just use it to try and win prizes. Send us pictures of the beers you're drinking with the hashtag cheers, guys.
Yeah. Cool. Alrighty, that's it. Thank you very much, mate.
It's been the highlight of my week.
And mine. Until next time. Cheerio.
It's a big beer o'clock welcome to the winners of our recent UK Top 10 IPA poll, Marble Brewery. And joining us this evening are Joe and Johnny from the brewery. Welcome, guys.
Hello, thank you.
Guys, rather than me trying to introduce you to our listeners, do you want to just introduce yourselves and let people know who you are and what you do at the brewery?
My name's Joe Mountain, and I'm project manager for Marble Beers. So I deal with all this external stuff, like these kind of things that you're doing, advertising and any events, all that sort of stuff. Really, it's quite broad.
And I'm Johnny, trainee brewer at the moment in the brewery. Used to be the drayman. I'm also I do mainly my job in packaging, so racking off the beers, doing the bottling runs, that sort of thing. It's pretty good actually. I always enjoyed brewing, so it's quite nice to actually get involved in it in such a well-known brewery and well-established brewery.
Mm-hmm. And Johnny, how long have you been brewing?
I started brewing as a home brewer when I was 16. I started brewing mead simply because I couldn't find it anywhere, and it was really before I started doing anything like online shopping. So I never really looked for it online or anything. So I thought the method really was if you can't buy it, brew it. So just got a few demijohns and whatever, and then a couple of years after that started brewing beer from kit. Still doing my meads and whatever, and then once I started here, it's about a year ago now, I had enough money to get myself a full grain kit, so I started putting full grain brews through, which is awesome, absolutely what I've been waiting to do for ages, so it's good. I'm very happy with it.
Excellent. And on last week's show we had a homebrew special. What's the one tip that you could give to homebrewers, Johnny?
Oh, experiment. It's the best advice, I would say. Just fiddle about. Don't try and produce a beer that you know. Try and produce one that you would want to try. Just mess about is the best thing to do. You can only learn by making mistakes, so fiddling about is the best thing to do, I would say. Okay,
great advice there. And Joe, do you brew at all?
I've done brew days down here, and I work for Blackjack Brewery as well, but not. The extent of my brewing is mainly just at home and playing with kits. Nothing major. I wouldn't necessarily call myself a brewer, but I have done it, and it's fun. It is good.
Do you find it helps with the jobs that you've got at the brewery there, having an understanding of the brewing process?
It certainly helped me massively, yeah, absolutely. If I hadn't have done home brewing, I wouldn't have had the basic knowledge, and becoming trainee brewer would have been, I suppose, a bit more tricky. It's a bit more difficult for me to get on board with understanding things like you say. Yeah, so it has helped me greatly.
Yeah, I think as well. I think if you brew, or if you home brew, or if you ever go to a brewery and brew, if you've got an interest in it, then that's all. Like in doing anything, if you're interested in what you do, and I think if you're brewing beer yourself or trying to go and brew beer at breweries, then that's always going to help doing this. You've got to enjoy it.
Okay, so let's get on to talking about the reason why we've got you guys on the show this week. We've been reviewing Marble Dobber on the show this week, and that beer won our recent poll, the UK Top 10 IPAs. Congratulations on winning the poll, guys. What does it mean to you?
Thank you very much. It's good actually, because we've got recognition for one of our beers that we produce, and it's good for a small brewery to get such a poll that's by peers really, and people who enjoy the beers and things like that. It also means for us as well, because we've had a bit of a change of the guard really. We've had a new team come in as an old team's left sort of thing, so it's good to know that we're still producing beer to high standards after this change has happened. You know what I mean? It feels very good for me just coming in as a learner,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm very pleased with it, and it's just good overall for the pubs and things like that. It's a good beer. I think it's fantastic, but I suppose my view's a bit biased,
Yeah, it's been great as well. just the sort of company that we've kept in the list, like to be in a list like that and considered for it is really good. It's something that we're proud of. We want to make good beer, so to win it's great.
Excellent. So to give us a little bit of background to the beer, tell us a little bit more about what goes into Dobber and what, in your opinion, makes it such a great beer.
Well, it's an incredibly, I would say, quite well balanced beer. It's got it's quite a sweet and sort of almost like a bit sticky, the malty background. A bit biscuity almost, possibly. And it's 5.9%, so it's not absolutely going to blow your head off, but if you have a couple of pints, you're going to know about it, So it's good for a sort of all-round. You can have a couple of pints of it in an afternoon. It has a really rich, oily hop sort of character to it as well, which is the Green Bullet and Nelson from New Zealand, and the Chinook give it a really sort of floral aroma on the nose. So it's, rather than it being incredibly bitter, it's slightly bitter and then has a large hop character on the nose and on the taste. So it's quite floral.
Yeah, I think it's got it's, for me as well, I think one of the reasons it probably did quite well is it's got because it's got a real malty element to it as well, it's got quite a broad flavour profile.
Yeah.
So I think it hits a lot of bases, which is what you want. It's not just, as I love hoppy beers, but it's not 7.5%. It's not just whacked full. It's not slapping you around the face with that. It's just got a real. It's robust. I think it's probably the word.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were drinking it. Was it about 2 Fridays ago or whatever?
Yeah, no, it's yeah. I want it banned basically because I can't be drinking it anymore.
Yeah.
It's such a deadly beer.
And if you look at, as you mentioned there in what you were saying, if you look at some of the other beers that made that top 10 list, it is quite different in its profile in terms of there are some real hop bombs in that top 10. And do you think it's that sets it apart for you guys?
Absolutely, I would say so. It's it's an all-round drink that like the sort of the young people now who are getting into. I say it like I'm an old person, but the sort of younger crowd who are getting into beer, and sort of like the camera members and sort of people your dad's age and whatever can drink it all together. It's not something that's absolutely going to blow your head off, that doesn't involve sort of like a bit of traditional sort of brewing style, if you know what I mean. It's the rounded character to the beer that I think offers, that has won this award for it, really.
Mm-hmm. And is it part of your core range, or is it kind of a special beer that you brew just occasionally?
It's part of the core range. I think out of the core range that we've got now, which is, I think it's probably Ginger, Earl Grey IPA, Manchester, Pint, Dobber and Lagonda.
Yeah.
I think Dobber's probably been there the longest. I was actually looking through all the old records and stuff not so long ago, and going back to sort of 2000, 99 and stuff like that, there's on like old adverts from the opening times and stuff, there's Dobber on the beer list then, so it's a real core beer for Marble, definitely.
Okay, and just tell us a little bit about the name, because I've looked it up and there's a few different definitions to the word Dobber. Is it something that's specific to the Manchester area?
It's a Dobber is in a set of marbles, in a game of marbles, the Dobber is the big marble.
Okay.
All the ones. I don't know what the other definitions are.
There's an Urban Dictionary one that maybe we don't want to go into too far.
I'm
definitely going to Google that.
Well, I did a brewery tour about a week back or whatever, and it was a load of blokes from Glasgow, and they thought the name Dobber was incredibly entertaining. Again, it's something probably we shouldn't discuss, but it's one for your listeners probably to look up maybe.
Yes, yeah, I think so. We might do a bit of quiz around that and see who can come up with the most imaginative answer.
Illustrations on a postcard.
Yes, yeah. All right, obviously, there you mentioned some of the other beers that you produce as well. So you don't just produce Dobber. Do you want to just tell us a little bit more about some of the other beers in your core range?
Yeah, absolutely. Manchester is the one I started drinking mainly before I started working at Marble. The Marble pub, Marble Arch on Rochdale Road is where I started drinking a long time before I got the job of drayman. So I was on the Manchester because Boddington's really, when that went, when I was younger, I was brought up on Boddington's bitter, so that was really the replacement for that on cask. So it's a really nice session bitter, but it's more traditional. It's not massively hopped again. It's quite sort of dry and very sort of, I would say, more traditional than the rest of our range, really.
I think it's a traditional Manchester bitter, though.
Yeah, it is,
It's paler than you think of, like your Yorkshire bitters and stuff. It's bitterer. It's got more of a bitter hop character. It's by no means an incredibly hoppy beer by sort of Dobber's standards or some of the other beers on the eye. It's not like that, but it's got that Manchester pale bitterness.
Now, I was chatting to one of our listeners a while back about the Manchester bitter. Now, this is a style all of its own, isn't it? The Manchester bitter.
Yes, it relies heavily on. Well, the style is very pale and very hoppy. It's because the water around here is good for creating pale beers. We'd be able to make an excellent lager with the water as we've got around here. It's the salt content that makes brewing pale beers in Manchester so successful, really, whereas in Burton and up in Yorkshire where the water's harder, you get better brewing salts, really, water style for brewing darker beers. So it was sort of almost, I think, out of, not necessity, but it was just maybe stumbled across. I don't know enough about Boddington's, unfortunately. But it is, that's sort of why Manchester is renowned for its pale beer, really, because it makes a very good one.
Okay. And so we've got Dobber and the Manchester Bitter. What are the other beers that you produce?
Go on, after usual.
I think one of the beers that's part of Marble's core range that got me into drinking beer, a more diverse range of beers and dry beers, probably Lagonda, which is 5% IPA. I think Lagonda. I don't know if you did the rate beer and Untapped scores combined, but I know Lagonda and Dobber always tend to sit very close to each other on the ratings on those kind of things. But that's not as strong as Dobber. It's just a really good session IPA that's got a decent ABV. It's got a good hop character to it. It's tasty and it's not as dangerous as Dobber.
Yeah, one of my personal favourites at the moment is the chocolate that we do as well, chocolate marble. It's so called because of the chocolate malt that goes into it, but that's an absolutely outstanding dark beer. I'm really into my dark beers, and recently, since the head brewers started, we've just changed the brewing salt slightly in it, and it's given it so much more body. It's unbelievable. It's such a fantastic beer. So it's good. What else have we got? Pint as well. That's a great session beer. That's
really popular.
Yeah. Unbelievably popular. Yeah. In our cask range, definitely.
3.9%.
Yeah.
Pale. It's it's funny. It was one of Marble's initial things when they set up nearly 20 years ago was not to brew a beer below 5%, and Pint's 3.9, and it's so tasty and just so popular. We sell so much Pint. So maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's a good thing that they decided to go against that nothing under 5% thing, because that's just
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a great session beer.
It is indeed.
And you mentioned there that the brewery was set up 20 years ago. Do you want to give us a little bit more history background to the brewery, maybe?
Yeah, it was set up in '97, just out the back of the Marble Arch pub on Rochdale Road. They had a spare space, really, a spare back room, and decided to set up a microbrewery in it. And it's gone from there. It's fortunate, like I said, they decided to concentrate on this Manchester style, which was paler, slightly hoppier beers, a little bit stronger, and then 5-6 years later, it'll have been about this microbrewing. I'm reluctant to say craft beer movement, but this whole shift towards this sort of style of beer really took off. I think it really worked nicely for Marble. That it all came about together, and then in 2009, the brewery moved from out the back of the pub to under the railway arches, which is 200 yards down the road, if that. So we've got what barrel kit is it now?
Right, it's 12 barrel, so it's it went from, was it 4.5, 5?
I think it's 4.5.
Yeah, so it went up to 12 barrel, which is, it's quite a big leap, that. So we're producing a lot more beer because we needed to expand slightly. We're still producing the same beer, but it's obviously we've got much bigger kit now, so we can produce a lot more of it. It's we're not interested in producing beer, we're not like sort of following any trends, if you know what I mean. We've always produced quite pale and hoppy beers, and we like producing beer that we like, if you know what I mean. It's like we're creating beers we want to drink almost. And we've also, like when it comes to inspiration, we've just we put a brew through about 2 weeks ago, something like that. That's going to be on in the Marble Arch tonight, and it's a one-off special, an English IPA. And we're looking forward to trying that. It's got Target and Admiral hops in it, and it's trying to sort of produce things with, like we were saying about Boddingtons and whatever, with the Mancunian heritage and British heritage in brewing, but also with an eye for using new ingredients, not becoming complacent with one particular style or flavour or, anything like that. We're just trying to sort of try new things, see, like what works, and we're quite happy with the English IPA. It's quite tasty, 5.5%, and very English, really, It's, we sort of like to be retrospective and forward-looking as well.
Yeah, it's really good that other people seem to really like what we do as well, because
absolutely,
I don't want to say that the goal is to please ourselves first and foremost, but it's definitely we want to be proud of what it is that we're doing, and the fact that other people like it is a bonus, and we're grateful for that.
Yeah, we wouldn't be where we are today without them, to be fair.
And you're both talking with real passion and pride about what you do. How important is it to you to stay true to those Mancunian roots?
I would say it's quite important. It's part of, it's first industrial city in the world and all that business as well. But we want to try other things as well. We're not just, we keep sort of our basis in Manchester, and then we sort of spread out further, looking at other styles, gaining inspiration from other places,
What do you think it is that sets your beers apart from others? Because it's quite a crowded marketplace at the moment. There are more breweries opening up on a weekly basis in the UK. What is it that you think keep people coming back to your beers?
I think there's a consistent quality to them. I think you can see that just by the fact that there are new breweries opening up every week, and Marble opened up 17 years ago. So we've stood a lot just by being around for a long time and changes in the industry, and it's still especially locally, but further afield, it's popular beer. It's really popular beer. It's not something that, and obviously I work for Marble, so people wouldn't perhaps be so disparaging, but it's not something anybody ever says, oh, I'm not bothered about that. People say, oh yeah, it's nice Marble, it's good beer. Mm-hmm. And it's one of the reasons I think we've ended up working for Marble is because before we worked for Marble, it was one that's like, oh, it's good beer.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Like, it's one that you want to work for. So, I don't know, I think it's just that consistency, the fact that it's been good for a long time, and that's something we've known as customers and now as people that work here.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, and what's the rest of the year got in store for Marble? Is it just a case of maintaining that consistency with the beers that you do, or is there anything special coming up in the last half of the year?
Oh well, I'd be telling some secrets there if I was telling you what we've got planned. But we've got our first seasonal spring has just been out. That's been slightly tinkered with, and summer is now going to be brewed next week, I think. So that's sort of like our seasonal range is still the same. It's still spring, summer, best, and stouts of stout. We're also kegging now, much more effectively than before. So we're hoping to get a bit of keg products out there, with a consistent eye to doing that more often. And we've also got some new bottles coming out as well, haven't we? We've got all our bottles used to be hand labelled, but now we've got printed bottles which look, I would say, absolutely excellent. They look really spot on, really, like sort of clean cut, dead smart looking things, Mm-hmm. So keeping up with consistency, a bit of kegging, a bit more bottling, and then maybe some special stuff thrown in between,
Okay, and if people want to follow you guys on Twitter, so maybe they can keep an eye out for those specials, where do they follow you?
Twitter tag is @Marble Brewers.
Okay.
Well, we've got a website as well, marblebeers.com,
mm-hmm.
Which is, the blog on there is regularly updated. We've got first brews of all our beers since we moved to a new brewery, so there's all the historic brews on there. There's those are the it's @Marble Brewers, and then all the bars have their own as well, especially for people coming into Manchester want to see what's going on. I've got the Beer House in Chorlton, which is @Marble Beer House. We've got the Marble Arch, which is @the Marble Arch, and 57 Thomas Street, which again I believe is @57 Thomas Street. Yeah.
Nice and simple.
Excellent. Yeah. And where can people, obviously in Manchester, your beers are widely available. For those of us that aren't in the Manchester area, where can we buy your beers?
I know in London that we send pallets down to the Euston Tap, possibly once a month, maybe a bit less than that. So it's definitely available there. Some of the places when I was the drayman that I really liked, delivering to, and also like the beer was always very well received, and they looked after the beer kind of things. The cellar in Chester is really good. The Victoria and Albert in Horwich, the Snug Micro Pub, that's Snug, sorry, choking on my words there, in Carnforth. And York as well as Trembling Madness in York. They do our bottles and some of our cask products, and also the Duke of York as well. That's the Leeds Brewery pub. They do a War of the Roses thing occasionally. And Ilkley Brewery and Marble went head to head. Unfortunately, Marble lost, but that's because Ilkley Brewery are from Yorkshire, and it was a competition held in Yorkshire.
Well, you can't win everything, guys.
No, absolutely. No, we're not trying to win absolutely everything. But it would have been nice if we could have been a bit more historically accurate with our War of the Roses win,
Yeah. So just finally, just before we wrap up, have you got anything to say for the people that voted for you in the poll?
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you so much. It does mean a lot to us, and we're going to push forwards and hopefully produce some more beer that you are going to enjoy as much as Dobber.
Yeah, it's everybody's been really pleased about it down here.
Yeah.
It's just been a really nice bit of recognition, especially with a new-ish team doing things to sort of keep going at where Marble was at. It's good to be acknowledged for that.
Yeah. Still got its leading edge, possibly.
Excellent. Well, look, guys. Thanks for giving up your time to come on the show. We really appreciate it, and thanks also for sending us the beers down to enjoy on the show this evening. And hopefully we'll chat to you again in the future.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.